In the world of Persona, a select few individuals possess the power to break free from the chains that bind them and summon what is known as a persona. Even fewer have the ability known as the wild card, allowing them to wield multiple personas at once. Welcome to the Persona Compendium, where we're going to cover the history and symbolism behind some of the franchise's most notable shadows, demons, and personas. Today we're going to have a look at one of the most deadly personas in the game, Ann's Carmen. For those unfamiliar, Carmen first appears before Ann in Kamoshida's palace. After accidentally entering the metaverse alongside Joker and Ryuji, Ann finds herself caught by Kamoshida's guards. She begins to fall into a depressive spiral, lamenting that if she would have only gone along with Kamoshida's abuse, Shiho wouldn't be in the hospital. But before she fully loses hope, Joker and Ryuji appear and inspire her not to lose her spark, and take revenge on Kamoshida. This proves enough to steal her resolve and manifest her persona, Carmen. With her newfound power, she assists Joker, Ryuji, and Morgana in taking down Kamoshida's grotesque demon form. For more information on that, check out my most recent video on the bosses of P5R and what they represent. But when the dust settles and we're left to view Carmen for what it is, it becomes clear that this persona is hiding a deep history filled with references to its literary background. But what are those references? Why does she use fire magic? And most importantly, why the name Carmen? To understand these questions, I think it would be best to take a look at her inspiration, the classic femme fatale from French literature, Carmen. The novella Carmen was written by Prosper Mérimée, I think, please excuse my poor French pronunciation, sometime around 1845. The story follows the life of Carmen, an ex-tobacco factory worker who now uses her good looks and charming personality to seduce men and use them until she becomes bored, at which point she would cut all ties. In most versions of this story, her life tragically comes to an end when one of her ex-lovers becomes wrought with rage and grief and savagely kills her. Ultimately, this story is one of a woman who uses her sexual appeal and charming personality to take power in a male-dominated society. And until she meets her untimely demise, she did this to great effect. Now you know who else has amazing good looks and charming personalities? The 4,000 plus people who subscribe to this channel. If you want to be just as funny and cool as all of those people, all you have to do is hit the little buttons underneath the video. So now that we've hit the subscribe button and have a solid understanding of what Carmen's based on, let's get into the persona itself. And where better to start than the visuals? Carmen is a very visually striking persona. From the top, we see large exaggerated black hair curling into two twin tails. On her face sits a classic mask akin to what you might find at a masquerade, and beneath the mask is a smoldering cigar, a trademark of the character Carmen in literature. Moving on, we see she's wearing a low-cut dress that seems to form into a corset around the waistline, from which it flows into a beautiful rose-like dress. The frills and roses of her dress hide her red and black stockings, complete with hearts lining the legs. Last but not least is her high heels, digging into one of her subservient puppets wearing a traditional suit with a massive heart-shaped helmet instead of a head. Of note here is the dark green wire that holds on to these men by the throat. Upon first inspection, it may appear to be a chain, but looking a little bit closer, we can see that this is actually a cleverly used rose stem, complete with sharp thorns sticking out at all points. Now, that's a lot to take in all at once, so let's see what we can do to break this down a little bit. This design was created with the intent to make a statement, which is to say that this Carmen takes no orders from any man. Her design's provocative in a way that reinforces the theme's core to the femme fatale archetype. With its extremely open chest and small waistline, the design shows us that Carmen, and by extension Ann, can use their appeal and charm to their advantage. She feels empowered through her allure, and uses it to manipulate the men who will only see her for her stunning looks. Now this is of course represented by the little Hartman chained by the neck with her thorns. Other than the classic femme fatale theming is the repeated use of roses. You may have heard the phrase, "every rose has its thorns," which is meant to convey the thought that even the most beautiful flower can hold danger. And this is core to Ann, as she can become one of, if not the most deadly magic user in the party, with her excellent combination of powerful fire magic and support skills. And the theme of roses isn't just relegated to the bouquet that sits on her waist. If you take a closer look, you'll find roses in all aspects of the design. So much so in fact that even the dress itself resembles a rose, with its spiraling concentric frills and circles. Another clever aspect of this persona is its connection to fire. On the surface, it's tempting to think that they chose fire simply to match the red color scheme that comes with roses, and passion, two themes core to Ann and Carmen, but I posit that this choice was far more deliberate. The story of Carmen has been adapted into many different works, whether they be literature, operas, or even more modern forms of media such as television or movies. But while many things have changed over the years, a few key traits have remained constant. One such trait is Carmen's background as a tobacco factory worker. This detail has informed her affinity for smoking and fire. Persona 5 likely took inspiration from this when picking an element for her and creating this design. The fact that they added the smoking cigar to the Persona's mouth all but confirms this for me, as the game doesn't typically include smoking all that often, especially concerning its younger cast members. In fact, the art designers themselves confirm this detail in The Art of Persona 5, which directly references Carmen's background as a tobacco worker. Now finally we come to her moveset. Much like the other main cast personas, Carmen's moveset is primarily designed around damage spells of one element in addition to some minor support skills. Her support skills are excellent early game additions, as it ensures that Ann is a useful party member even against foes that are strong to fire. But where she really shines is in her damage output capabilities in the late game. The skill Blazing Hell is the final iterations of Carmen's fire magic that also happens to be the most damaging ability any party member can learn, not including Joker. This makes Ann an excellent choice for late game parties, as she can rack up crazy amounts of damage in combination with Concentrate, her skill that applies 2.5 times damage to the next magic attack she casts. Now, lore-wise, she is just as robust, as her combination of support and damage skills alludes to Ann's role in the group outside of the metaverse. Throughout the story, she is assertive and strong in her actions, and never afraid to take the lead in any conflict, while simultaneously being one of the more thoughtful and emotionally available party members. Whenever the group finds themselves in a difficult situation and has some sort of internal disagreement, Ann is very quick to support her friends and come to their aid. I believe her moveset represents this role perfectly, and as a result, exemplifies the duality between the Phantom Thieves' lives in the metaverse and their real-life interactions. Now, of course, finally, there is the connection between Fire and Carmen. As many people know, fire is commonly associated with passion and love, two themes closely related to both Carmen and Ann. As we look closer into every persona, I feel that we're uncovering more and more deep connections that show how truly detailed this game can be. It's the small connections and little thematic through lines like these that go into crafting a believable and well-made world. Again, in The Art of Persona 5, the book that I mentioned earlier, one of the lead designers left this commentary on designing Ann. The protagonist, Ryuji, and Ann were the first three characters to appear in promotional material, so it was their role to communicate what kind of game Persona 5 was going to be. That's why I designed the characters to convey the entire Persona 5 feel. I couldn't handpick three better characters to represent both the visual style and personality of Persona 5, while also exemplifying the incredible attention to detail and thematic relevance that each aspect of the game holds. It is this level of detailed, creative depth that takes Persona 5 to the next level as a game, and keeps it firmly in our minds as one of the best titles to ever be released on the PlayStation 4. And that's all I have for you today. If you enjoyed what you saw, feel free to leave a like, maybe even consider subscribing. Also, I've been considering starting up a stream. I thought it might be a fun way for me to produce more content for you guys, and maybe be a cool way to interact with my viewers. So let me know if you'd be interested in that. Also, maybe expect some bigger changes coming to the channel soon. I'd love to branch out from Persona 5 and talk about other things I like too. So if you'd be interested in that, I'd love it if you stuck around to watch those videos as well. But with all that out of the way, I just want to say thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time.